How to spot manipulation before it works. A coworker does you a small favor, unasked, seemingly out of nowhere. Don't worry about it, they say. A week later, they ask you for something big, and somehow you can't say no. You feel like you owe them, or you gently question someone's behavior in an argument, and suddenly the roles flip. Now you're the one on the defensive, accused of being too suspicious, not them. Manipulation usually doesn't work like a dramatic movie-style moment. It works like a small, unnoticed shift, and while it's happening, you don't even register it as a shift at all. In this video, you'll see why manipulation needs to be spotted before it happens, not after. How the Stoics turned this into an actual mental discipline 2,000 years ago, and which recurring patterns modern psychology has identified. 3 techniques, 3 real distinct patterns from manipulation research. First, let's correct a misconception. Most of us think, I wouldn't fall for manipulation, I'd notice it. As if manipulation always looks obvious, like a cartoonish villain with ominous music playing. But psychologist Daniel Kahneman's research on decision-making shows something very different. Our minds run on 2 systems, a fast, automatic, intuitive one, and a slow, deliberate, questioning one. Manipulation tactics almost never target logic, because a mind that's actively reasoning is hard to persuade. Instead, they're designed to target exactly the fast system, a pang of guilt, a sense of urgency, a wave of gratitude. And you've already said yes before your slow questioning system even engages. So the issue isn't whether you're smart or naive. The issue is which system made the decision and how much time it was given to make it. The Stoics knew this under a different name, the gap between an impression, fantasia, and assent, sigcatathesis. Epictetus taught his students that when an impression arrives in the mind, a thought, a feeling, a sense of you must act now, you shouldn't automatically grant it assent. First, examine it. Ask whether it's true. Ask whose interest it actually serves. To him, freedom wasn't about stopping impressions from arriving, because that was never within your control. The world would keep sending impressions regardless. Freedom was being able to pause before granting assent to that impression, being able to protect that gap. That's essentially the ancient philosophical version of what Kahneman calls slow thinking. And Epictetus taught it not as a theory, but as a daily exercise. Perhaps the person who applied this most concretely and practically was Seneca. In his lengthy work on benefits, he spends a great deal of time distinguishing a genuine favor from a manipulative one, because in Roman political life, built as it was on a patronage system, favors were routinely used as a tool to create debt. People who gave you something while expecting your loyalty, your silence, your vote, or your obedience in return. And this was so widespread that the entire social hierarchy of Rome rested on this invisible web of debt. Seneca's distinction was clear. A true favor is one where the giver expects nothing in return, and the receiver feels no obligation. If something is expected, it was never a favor to begin with. It was a disguised transaction. Only the name had changed. So, how do you apply this today? There are 3 techniques. The first, noticing escalating requests. In 1966, psychologists Jonathan Friedman and Scott Fraser found that people who first agreed to a small request were significantly more likely to later agree to a much larger one. This is known as the foot in the door effect. A small yes causes your brain to build a story about itself. I'm a helpful person. I'm someone who keeps their word. And to stay consistent with that story, you become more willing to say yes to what follows, since appearing inconsistent feels worse to most people than saying no would. The practical move: when you notice a sequence of requests, a small favor immediately followed by a much bigger one, evaluate each request entirely on its own, as if you were encountering it for the first time. The second technique: noticing the moment the roles flip. Psychologist Jennifer Fried gave this pattern a name: DARVO: deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. When you question someone's behavior and they shift the conversation from their own actions to you overreacting, being always suspicious, being ungrateful, or attacking them, that's a recognized, studied pattern. The original issue quietly disappears, and you end up defending yourself, often forgetting the question you originally asked. This pattern is effective enough that afterward, people often catch themselves wondering, wait, why was I the one apologizing? The practical move: notice the exact moment a conversation shifts from their behavior to your reaction. That shift itself is meaningful information, and the moment you notice it, you can steer the conversation back to your original question. The third technique: noticing the unsolicited favor trap. Marketing psychologist Robert Cialdini's principle of reciprocity shows that when you're given an unexpected favor, your brain automatically generates a sense of debt, strong enough that most people feel compelled to repay it, even when they never wanted the favor in the first place. And sometimes what's asked in return is far larger than what was given. This principle is reliable enough that it's used deliberately across sales and marketing. A free sample, a just-for-you offer, all engineered to trigger the same mechanism. Remember Seneca's distinction: is this a genuine favor or an investment? The practical move: when a request follows an unsolicited favor, ask yourself, did I actually want that favor? Or am I just feeling indebted now? Those aren't the same thing. And being able to tell them apart changes your decision entirely. Let's see all three together in one concrete example. A coworker takes on an extra task on your behalf without being asked. "Don't worry about it, I've got it," they say, smiling, and the matter is closed. A week later, they ask you to work extra hours over the weekend for them, reminding you, "I helped you out last week, remember?" And for a moment, you genuinely feel like you owe them. First technique kicks in. These are two independent requests, one an unsolicited favor, the other a large sacrifice now being asked of you. You don't treat them as one linked deal. You evaluate each on its own. Second technique: if you gently push back, "I actually had plans this weekend. Can we figure out something else?" And they respond with something like, "Wow, you're really not grateful. Is this how you repay me for helping you?" That's a DARVO shift. The conversation has moved from their expectation to your character, and you recognize it instantly, which lets you steer the conversation back. Third technique: you ask yourself, did I actually want that favor? Or was it just handed to me without me asking? If the honest answer is, I never asked for it, the debt you're feeling now isn't real. It's a feeling constructed after the fact. You don't have to base your decision on it. If you genuinely want to help with the weekend, you can. But because you want to, not because guilt is forcing your hand. Together, these 3 techniques send one message. The strongest defense against manipulation isn't reacting after the fact. It's building a pause into the moment the impression arrives, the exact gap Epictetus taught 2,000 years ago. If you want to turn this into a lasting habit, use if-then planning here too. If I notice a sequence of requests or a sudden pang of guilt, then I'll delay my decision by at least a day, and I won't say yes to anything until then. The decision is made in advance, so you don't have to think it through under pressure. The same trigger-action pairing from the other videos. Spotting manipulation doesn't mean approaching everyone with suspicion or hunting for a hidden trap behind every kindness. That would just be an exhausting, distrustful way to live. It just means creating a small, consistent gap between impression and assent. The same gap Seneca used to tell a genuine favor from a disguised one, and the same gap you now use to tell a genuine request from a manipulative one. The storm will come again. Someone will try to rush you into accepting an impression too quickly. But now you know your weapon against it isn't speed. It's the pause. The lake doesn't react to every wave the same way. It chooses which ones get to reach beneath the surface, and that choice makes it neither closed off nor defenseless, just deliberate. Which of these 3 techniques are you going to try next time you notice a request or a pang of guilt? Tell me in the comments.